My name is Veronica Hayes, and I discovered my husband's affair on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic Friday or a symbolic Monday, but a boring Tuesday while I was looking for batteries in his desk drawer. Instead, I found receipts. Dozens of them. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry I'd never seen. My hands shook as I spread them across the mahogany surface like evidence at a crime scene. Marcus had always been careful. Too careful. He labeled his lies with the precision of a surgeon, kept his stories straight, never slipped. For 3 years, apparently. 3 years while I cooked his favorite meals, pressed his shirts, and believed his late meetings at the bank where he worked as senior loan officer. The jewelry receipt made me laugh. Actually laugh. A hollow, broken sound that echoed in his empty office. $2,000 for a diamond bracelet. I'd gotten grocery store flowers for our last anniversary. He'd said the bank was tightening budgets. I sat in his leather chair, the one he'd special ordered from Italy, and stared at the evidence of my stupidity. Outside, Millbrook carried on like nothing had shattered. This small town with its 3 churches and 1 traffic light had no idea what was coming. I didn't cry that first day. Maybe I was in shock, or maybe I'd used up all my tears during those nights Marcus came home smelling like perfume he swore was from clients. I'd believed him because I wanted to. Because admitting the truth meant admitting I'd wasted 8 years of my life on a man who saw me as a convenience. The affair was with Brianna Cooper. I found her name on one receipt, scrawled in Marcus's handwriting with a heart. A heart. The man who forgot my birthday drew hearts for his mistress. Brianna worked at the town hall as a clerk. I'd seen her at the grocery store, always perfectly dressed, always smiling. She was 26. I was 34. I gathered every receipt and photographed them with shaking hands. Then I found his second phone. It was tucked in a box of old tax documents, which was almost funny. Marcus hiding his affair among IRS paperwork felt very on brand. The messages made me sick. Sweet nothings mixed with meeting times and hotel room numbers. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Marcus would suspect nothing. That was important. I needed time to think, to plan, to figure out what came next. That night I made pot roast, Marcus's favorite. He came home at 7:30, kissed my cheek like he always did, and complained about traffic. I watched him lie with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. His face showed nothing. No guilt, no hesitation, just the same tired smile he'd worn for years. "Smells amazing, Ronnie," he said, loosening his tie. "What's the occasion?" No occasion, just felt like cooking. We ate in our usual spots. He scrolled through his real phone while cutting his meat. I wondered if Brianna was texting him right now, if she was waiting for him somewhere. I wondered how many times he'd left our bed to meet her. The pot roast tasted like cardboard, but I forced it down. "How was work?" I asked, my voice steady. Same old stuff. Boring meetings, paperwork. He didn't even look up. Henderson's being difficult about the new lending policies again. More lies. Smooth, practiced, effortless. I smiled and nodded and wanted to throw my plate at his head. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay beside Marcus, listening to him snore, and thought about my options. Divorce seemed obvious, but too simple, too clean. He'd split our assets, maybe even get the house since his name was on more of the paperwork. He'd walk away with half of everything and all of his dignity. That wasn't good enough. I wanted him to feel what I felt. That crushing weight in your chest when you realize the person you trusted most has been playing you for a fool. I wanted everyone to know what he'd done. In a town like Millbrook, reputation was everything. Marcus prided himself on being respectable, trustworthy. The guy everyone came to for advice. By 3 a.m, I had the beginning of a plan. It wasn't fully formed yet, but the pieces were there, waiting to be arranged. I'd need help. I'd need to be smart. Most importantly, I'd need to keep acting normal while I burned his world down. The next morning, I called in sick to my job at the library. Mrs. Patterson, my boss, didn't question it. I never called in sick. I drove to the next town over, 40 minutes away, where nobody knew me. There, I bought a cheap laptop with cash and a prepaid phone. No trace back to me. In a coffee shop that smelled like burnt beans and desperation, I started digging. Marcus thought he was careful, but everyone makes mistakes. I logged into our joint bank account and started tracking his spending. Patterns emerged. Every Thursday, he withdrew $300. Every Thursday for 3 years. That was over $40,000. I photographed everything. The withdrawals, the dates, the amounts. Then I checked his credit card statements, the ones he thought I never looked at. More hotels, more restaurants, some in Millbrook, others in neighboring towns. He'd been busy. But it was the pattern that interested me most. The Thursday withdrawals always happened at 2 p.m., right after his lunch break. And they always came from the same ATM, the one outside Rosie's Diner on Main Street. I drove to Rosie's and parked across the street. The diner was a Millbrook institution, run by the same family for 60 years. Everyone went to Rosie's. I ordered coffee and positioned myself by the window, watching the ATM. If Marcus was this predictable, maybe Brianna was too. At 2:15, she appeared. Brianna Cooper, in a blue dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget, walked straight to the ATM. She didn't withdraw money. She just stood there, checking her phone. 5 minutes later, she walked away. The dead drop was so obvious it was almost insulting. Marcus withdrew the money, left it somehow, and Brianna picked it up. But how? I watched the ATM for 3 more hours, buying enough coffee to make my hands shake. Nothing seemed unusual. No envelope, no hidden compartment, no suspicious behavior. Then I saw the trash can. Right next to the ATM, one of those green municipal bins that got emptied once a week. Marcus was dropping the cash in there, and Brianna was fishing it out. It was risky and stupid, and somehow working because who checks public trash cans for money? I had to stop myself from laughing. My brilliant banker husband was using a garbage can as his secret money drop. The man had 3 college degrees and couldn't think of anything better than trash. Thursday came. I followed Marcus during his lunch break, staying 3 cars back. He went to Rosie's, had a sandwich at the counter, and then walked to the ATM. I watched through my camera as he withdrew $300, folded it into a small envelope, and dropped it casually into the trash can while pretending to throw away a receipt. Smooth, almost professional. Then he drove back to the bank like nothing happened. I waited. 20 minutes later, Brianna showed up in her usual blue dress. She bought a coffee to go, walked past the ATM, and reached into the trash can like she was throwing something away. The envelope disappeared into her purse in one fluid motion. She was good. I'd give her that. Now I knew their system. Now I could break it. That afternoon, I went to see my sister, Amber. She lived 2 towns over and worked as a paralegal. If anyone could help me navigate what came next, it was her. We'd always been close, even when I married Marcus against her advice. She'd called him a smooth-talking snake in an expensive suit. Turns out she was right. "I need your help destroying my husband," I said when she opened the door. Amber didn't even blink. "Took you long enough, come in." Over wine and cheese crackers, I laid out everything. The receipts, the photos, the messages, the Thursday drops. Amber listened with the focus of a lawyer preparing for trial, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "This is good," she said finally. "Really good. But if you want to really bring him down, you need more. You need to prove financial fraud or something bigger. Adultery alone won't destroy him in this town. People forgive affairs. You need to hit his reputation where it really hurts." "What do you mean?" "He's a loan officer at Millbrook Community Bank, right? And he's been pulling $300 a week for 3 years. Where's that money actually coming from? His salary alone can't cover it without you noticing. Check if he's been skimming from somewhere." My stomach dropped. "You think he's embezzling?" "I think men who lie about one thing lie about everything, and bankers have access." Amber leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Did you ever wonder why you two seem comfortable but never really rich? He makes 6 figures. Where's it all going?" She was right. We lived modestly. Nice house, decent cars, but nothing extravagant. I'd always assumed Marcus was being responsible, saving for our future. What if he'd been funding his affair with stolen money? The next day, I did something I'd never done before. I logged into Marcus's work computer. He kept his password on a sticky note in his desk drawer at home, which was almost too easy. The man who hid his affair in garbage cans apparently trusted sticky notes with bank access. What I found made my blood run cold. Marcus had been approving loans to fake businesses for 2 years. Small amounts, 20 or 30,000 at a time, always just under the threshold that would trigger an audit. The businesses existed on paper but nowhere else. The money went into accounts that disappeared weeks later. He'd stolen over $400,000 from the bank. My husband wasn't just a cheater. He was a thief. I should have felt vindicated, but mostly I felt sick. This was bigger than an affair. This was federal crime territory. If I reported this, Marcus wouldn't just lose his reputation. He'd lose his freedom. Prison time, years of it. Part of me hesitated. Despite everything, we'd had good years. He'd been kind once, loving even. But then I remembered the receipts, the lies, the way he'd looked me in the eye and lied every single day for 3 years. The way he'd stolen from his own workplace to fund his affair. I made copies of everything. Bank records, loan documents, account numbers. I stored them on 3 different USB drives and hid them in 3 different places. Then I started phase 2 of my plan. I needed proof that Brianna knew about the money. If she was just a mistress, she'd get sympathy. If she was an accomplice, she'd go down with him. So I did something I'm not proud of. I broke into her apartment. Millbrook was small enough that everyone knew everyone's schedule. Brianna worked 8 to 4 at Town Hall, Monday through Friday. On Tuesday afternoon, while she filed paperwork and smiled at constituents, I picked her lock with a credit card and a YouTube tutorial. Her apartment was exactly what I expected. Expensive furniture, designer clothes, jewelry boxes full of pieces I recognized from Marcus's receipts. She'd furnished her entire life with my husband's theft. But it was the laptop that gave me everything. Brianna had kept records, detailed records, dates, amounts, account numbers. She'd been tracking the money Marcus gave her, probably worried he'd cheat her the way he'd cheated me. The irony was almost poetic. She knew, she'd known from the start. Some documents even showed her helping him set up the fake business accounts. She wasn't just his mistress. She was his partner in crime. I photographed everything and left without a trace. Back in my car, hands shaking from adrenaline, I realized I held enough evidence to destroy both of them completely. The question was how to use it for maximum impact. That night, Marcus came home whistling. Actually whistling. He kissed my forehead and told me about his day, spinning lies like cotton candy. I smiled and nodded and served dinner like I had 1,000 times before. Inside, I was counting down. I was thinking, he said over dessert, maybe we should take a vacation. It's been a while. That sounds nice. Where? Somewhere tropical, Bahamas maybe. He reached across the table and took my hand. I know I've been working a lot lately. I want to make it up to you. The audacity nearly choked me. He was planning a vacation with stolen money, probably after he'd taken Brianna somewhere similar last month. I squeezed his hand and lied right back. I'd love that. I spent the next week watching. Marcus and Brianna had gotten comfortable, sloppy even. They met at a motel outside town every Tuesday. I followed them once, watched them check in together, watched Marcus pay in cash from his Thursday withdrawal. They stayed for exactly 2 hours. On Thursday, I beat them to the trash can. I waited until Marcus made his drop, then swooped in immediately after. The envelope had $300, crisp 20s, exactly as expected. I replaced it with an envelope of my own. Same weight, same size, filled with Monopoly money and a note that said, "I know everything." Then I waited across the street with my camera. Brianna appeared on schedule. She did her coffee and trash can routine, grabbed the envelope, and walked away. I watched her check it in her car. Even from a distance, I could see her face go white. She looked around frantically, then peeled out of the parking lot. 5 minutes later, Marcus's phone rang. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I watched him through the bank window. His face went from confused to terrified in seconds. He hung up and immediately tried calling someone back. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. Phase 3 had begun. That evening, Marcus came home early. His face was pale, his hands shaking. He went straight to his office and locked the door. I pressed my ear against it and heard him frantically making calls. "Pick up, pick up, pick up," he muttered. "Brianna, please." I went to the kitchen and started dinner, humming cheerfully. Let him panic. Let him wonder who knew, how much they knew, what would happen next. Let him feel that crushing dread I'd felt finding those receipts. He didn't come out for dinner. Around 8, I knocked softly. "Marcus, are you okay?" "I'm fine." His voice was too loud, too sharp. "Just work stress, don't worry about it." "Okay, I made lasagna if you get hungry." I ate alone, savoring every bite. This was better than I'd imagined. The waiting, the fear, the uncertainty. He was destroying himself from the inside while I watched. The weekend was torture for Marcus. He couldn't reach Brianna. She'd gone completely dark, probably terrified that someone was onto them. He tried to act normal around me, but I could see the cracks. The way he jumped at every phone notification. The dark circles under his eyes. The constant checking of his work laptop. On Monday, I made my first move. I called the FBI's financial crimes hotline from my prepaid phone. I didn't give my name. I just provided account numbers, dates, and suggested they investigate Marcus Hayes at Millbrook Community Bank. The woman on the other end thanked me and said they'd look into it. Step 1 complete. Tuesday, I sent copies of Marcus's messages with Brianna to his boss, the bank president, from an anonymous email. I included photos of them at the motel, receipts from their hotels, everything. The subject line read, "Your senior loan officer is having an affair with town hall clerk Brianna Cooper. Thought you should know." I didn't mention the embezzlement yet. That was for the FBI. This was just about reputation damage. By noon, Marcus was called into a meeting. I watched from my car as he walked into the bank, shoulders hunched. He came out 2 hours later, his face gray. They'd suspended him pending investigation. Everyone in Millbrook would know by dinner. Wednesday brought the local newspaper. Someone had tipped them off about the affair and the suspension. The headline read, "Bank officer suspended amid affair allegations." Marcus's photo was right there on the front page. In a town of 4,000 people, this was the scandal of the decade. I bought 3 copies. Marcus stayed in his office all day. I brought him lunch he didn't eat. "I'm sorry this is happening," I said softly, playing the supportive wife. "Do you want to talk about it?" "There's nothing to talk about." His voice was dead. "Someone's trying to ruin me." "Who would do that?" He looked at me then, really looked like he was seeing me for the first time in years. Something flickered in his eyes. Suspicion, fear, but then it was gone. "I don't know," he said, "but I'll find out." Thursday came and went. No trip to the ATM, no withdrawal. The routine was broken. Marcus was too scared to move, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Brianna had apparently quit her job at town hall and left town. Smart girl. She'd seen the writing on the wall. I gave it one more day. Then on Friday, I went to the police station. "I need to report something," I told Officer Phillips, who'd gone to high school with Marcus. "It's about my husband." I laid out everything. The embezzlement, the fake loans, the stolen money. I provided copies of all my evidence. Phillips's face went from sympathetic to horrified as he flipped through the documents. "Mrs. Hayes," he said carefully, "do you understand what you're telling me?" "I understand that my husband has been stealing from his employer for 2 years to fund an affair. I understand that's a federal crime. And I understand that everyone in this town needs to know who Marcus Hayes really is." They arrested him that afternoon. I watched from the living room window as 2 officers walked him out in handcuffs. Our neighbors stood in their yards, watching. Mrs. Chen from next door had her phone out, filming. By tonight, everyone would know. Marcus looked back at the house once. Our eyes met through the window. In that moment, I saw it, the recognition. He knew. He knew I'd done this, all of it, every perfectly planned step. His face crumpled, not with anger, but with something worse. Defeat. Complete and total defeat. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel anything except tired. The trial took 6 months. Marcus pleaded guilty to embezzlement, fraud, and a dozen other charges. They'd found everything, including Brianna's records proving she'd helped him. She got 3 years. Marcus got 7. In the end, Millbrook didn't just know about the affair. They knew about the theft, the lies, the fake businesses, all of it. Marcus Hayes went from respected banker to convicted felon. His name became a warning. His story became a cautionary tale parents told their kids about greed and dishonesty. The bank recovered most of the money. I got the house in the divorce, plus his pension, his car, and pretty much everything else. His lawyer tried to fight it, but the judge wasn't sympathetic to convicted criminals. I still live in Millbrook. Sometimes people stare, whispering about the woman who brought down Marcus Hayes. Some call me brave, others call me vindictive. I don't really care what they call me. On Tuesdays, I drive past Rosie's diner, and the trash can where Marcus used to make his drops. Sometimes I laugh, remembering how stupid he thought I was. How easy he thought it would be to get away with it all. He thought he could hide the affair, hide the theft, hide the lies. He thought small-town Veronica, the quiet librarian who made pot roast and never asked questions, would never figure it out. He was wrong. I didn't just expose his affair. I brought down his entire carefully constructed life, piece by piece, lie by lie. I brought down his reputation, his career, his freedom. I brought down the whole town's trust in him. And I'd do it again.